7 News with Ann Sanders.
Good afternoon. The AFL final series has kicked off under the shadow of scandal. The Swans' sex assault claims still an active investigation. The club was able to turn turmoil into triumph yesterday, emotions spilling over in their win over North Melbourne. Chief reporter Chris Reason is following the story.
Good afternoon. The head of the AFL facing the cameras for the first time today and copping a barrage of questions about the Sydney Swans scandal, but insisting the behaviour of a few doesn't define his code. He was speaking after what was a deeply emotional Swans game yesterday. Extraordinary scenes with some left in tears after their 53-point win against North Melbourne. The post-game reaction giving us an insight into the impact the incident has had on the players. At the AFL finals launch today, CEO Andrew Dillon defending his code and revealing further penalties for the 5 suspended.
I think the actions of a few don't define the actions of the entire industry. The invitations for the Brownlow will be going out this week. Those players won't be invited.
The 5 are still eligible, though unlikely to win. Isaac Heaney, Nick Blakey, Chad Warner, Riley Bias and James Jordan stood down for breaching behaviour standards while staying at the team hotel, as lawyers acting for the 3 dancers at the centre of the scandal on Saturday claimed there were multiple assaults, not just the one that police are investigating.
Our client's had her entire world turned upside down. She's now trying to navigate an incredibly traumatic experience.
More pain for the club today as they held an online meeting with major sponsors offering more apologies and repeating their concerns for the women involved, all in their attempt to repair the damaging fallout from this saga. Back to you.
Thanks, Chris. A teenager has miraculously walked away after he was struck by a car at Castle Hill last night. Dashcam footage shows the vehicle running a red light before hitting the 14-year-old who was crossing the road. The teenager is seen picking himself up and continuing to walk across the road. He was taken to hospital for a checkup. The 75-year-old man behind the wheel returned a negative roadside breath test. A truck rollover has been causing traffic pain for commuters in the Blue Mountains this afternoon. Emergency crews were called to Bell's Line of Road just after 10 this morning after the truck rolled on the eastbound lanes. The 59-year-old driver was able to free himself and was taken to hospital as a precaution. A contraflow is in place with motorists urged to avoid the area. One Nation is desperately mopping up its migration message after new MP David Farley suggested its net overseas migration target is not too different to the federal government's. Live to Jacqueline Robson in Canberra, there's been more confusion, Jackie, after Pauline Hanson seemingly deleted a social media post that suggested a different number altogether.
And what a mess. Being perhaps One Nation's biggest issue, this is a policy the party did not want to muddle. And it all began when MP David Farley suggested that the party's migration targets wouldn't be too different to Labor's. This morning, Barnaby Joyce tried to clear up the mess, saying One Nation has always been firm on the number of 130,000 for net overseas migration, also referred to as the NOM. Farley over the weekend whacked another 100,000 on top of that for workers in sectors like agriculture.
Potentially an extra 100,000 on top of the 130,000.
Yeah.
But you're saying it needs to be 130,000 NOM plus about 100,000 more.
Yeah, at a minimum.
It is 130,000. There's not going to be an extra 100 on top of that, no.
OK, so he just misspoke.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not unusual. Show me a political career where people haven't made a mistake and I'll show you a person who's not telling the truth.
Now, the confusion deepens with reports Pauline Hanson has deleted a social media post where the leader pointed to a 130,000 cap on arrivals minus departures, which leads to a new figure altogether.
Our opponents are all over the shop on immigration. We will cap migration based on housing supply. Given what we're seeing, we'd expect it to be substantially below 200,000, substantially below.
On migration, the one thing you think they could be consistent on, they're certainly not. Our numbers are in the budget. We're working over 2 years down to 225,000.
The question now is, will these muddy numbers affect One Nation's polling numbers, with much of its support coming from this migration issue? Anne?
Jacqueline Robson joining us from Canberra. Thank you very much. An alleged domestic dispute has landed a man and a woman in hospital in Sydney's west. Emergency services responded to the scene at a unit on Station Road in Auburn just after 3 this morning. It was there they found a 25-year-old man with wounds on his wrist and a woman who'd also suffered injuries. Both were treated by paramedics before being taken to hospital. A second fur seal has been found dead on a South Australian beach with suspected bird flu. The long-nosed fur seal was discovered near Kangaroo Island. It sparked concern of an extinction-level event for the local population of endangered sea lions. The fight against the deadly disease is ramping up. Reporter Nick McCallum has been given a close-up look at the vaccination process for Phillip Island's penguins.
Wildlife officers here at Phillip Island have been vaccinating the penguins for the past week, but now they're ramping it up with a sense of urgency. When the birds come out of the water and walk up the beach, they're herded into a corral. That's when wildlife officers pounce, pick them up and put them into pens. They're then weighed and measured, they receive their injections, and then they are checked for microchips. If they don't have them already, they're actually given a microchip because they have to come back to get a second dose in 3 to 4 weeks. For these birds, the vaccination will not actually prevent them getting bird flu, but it will reduce the impact if they are infected.
This is the first time that anyone around the world has attempted something like this of this scale. So naturally our team took some time earlier in the week in testing, planning, trialling different methods of being able to roll out this vaccination program.
We're confident that in a few weeks' time when it comes time for the second dose, those same birds will be coming up the same pathway. So it's, even though it's a wild situation, they have predictable movements once they reach land.
Overall, there are now more than 1,000 penguins vaccinated both here at Phillip Island and at St Kilda. They hope by the end of the program to vaccinate 5,000 birds. That is almost 15% of the Victorian penguin population.
Premier Chris Minns has confirmed the state will honour the life of young bushwalker Lily Hooper, who was found dead 8 days after going missing in the Nati National Park, southwest of Sydney.
We've been in contact with Lily's family. I want to talk with them and work on it together, but we'll do something special for Lily and, frankly, it's the least we can do.
Lily's parents exclusively telling 7 News they hold no anger towards the Premier or New South Wales Police for the communication mistake when they were incorrectly told Lily was alive.
I think the people in New South Wales have to think themselves very lucky to have the police force that we have and the dedication that they put in.
The Hooper family is hoping Lily's legacy encourages other young girls to safely seek adventure.